I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Hope you had fun at the, whatever you did for the Super Bowl. That was an interesting game. Roll call, please.
Sandy Kufelt.
Here.
Chris O'Regan.
Here.
Tom Kruger.
Absent on excuse.
Artie Brayson.
Here.
Cindy Valentine here. Joanne Shirkey.
Here.
Mark Bouchard.
Here. Okay. Moving right along, bills payable. Entertain a motion to pay some bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $150,647.50.
Support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Chris O'Regan.
Yes.
Artie Bryson.
Yes.
Cindy Valentine, yes. Joanne Shirkey.
Yes.
Mark Bouchard.
Yes.
Sandy Kufelt.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next, we have public comments. Do we have any public comments? Coming up, state your name and address and... Good.
Tom Soulliere, 7882 Lake Drive. I've been talking to Artie in the building department for a little while now on some property on Lake Drive, and I just want to have it on record, is all I'm here for. I mean, we talked about it before, you come out and looked at it, took some pictures, talked to the polite guy, talked to the building department gentleman. Anyway, the major one is the one next to me, 7870. The van is there, the water hasn't been turned on since November 15. People are living there. Talked to the, sanitation or something on Point here, and they sent me down here. These guys sent me back there, so I know you know of it, and you were gonna check into that. Anyway, the van's there again tonight, somebody's there. And then the little one next to that, 7856, under foreclosure, probably going up on sheriff's sale here real quick. And the garage, I mean, the addition on the garage was a carport. They turned it into a garage. Now it's a bedroom. And now it's the perfect time to, take care of that. So we talked about it. I just want to have it on record. So they were in it working on it. The maintenance company came by and they put a little handrail in there where the bedroom's at. But, that addition was never supposed to be there. There's probably not even a footing underneath it, So while the bank's got it, they need to be notified that, something's got to be done with that. So I gave you the lawyer that handled, or something that handled the foreclosure, and also the sticker on the window is the 313 is some kind of real estate down in Detroit, East Detroit or something. So they're handling it. So anyway, the bank's got it. They're trying to maintain it, but they need to be made aware that when somebody buys it, that's got to be taken care of. And then, you see in the house next to me, front porch is falling.
In the garage.
Yeah, and then the garage down the end of the road where the roof is falling in, I mean, that's already taken care of. It's just a matter of time to do something. But, back to the one next to me, they got the boat there, been there 15 years. We got rules, 3 months or no registration is supposed to be taken care of. And, I know you're trying to do something, and it's a shame that you don't have, the clout or the, backing to do it, You just can't take it all away, then it gets to be too much. But all I want to do is just make some of those things aware. So if somebody purchases that blue house, I don't think it was right that they changed it from the description years ago, it just said carport. Now all of a sudden it's a bedroom. And I don't think it was right to just say it's okay to make living quarters out of it, It's right on the property line, it really shouldn't have been there. And then the next guy buys it, he thinks it's all right, and then come to find out he might not have a footing underneath there or something, and he gets upset. So, anyway, that's why I'm here tonight.
Okay, good. Thank you, Tom. Yep, good seeing you. Any other public comments?
Hey, Tom, what's the street on that?
Lake Drive.
Yeah. I can fill you guys in later. There's definitely a few problems there on at Lake Drive.
It's the same. got
Yeah.
issues, and I'm sure you're familiar.
Oh, boy. All right, thanks, Tom. Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, moving right along. Consent agenda. Entertain a motion, accept the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the minutes of the board meeting of January 23rd, 2017, and synopsis, check reports, communication. We have a letter from John Sazinski regarding ALS, BLS, an email from C. Anderson regarding a thank you to the police department, Lieutenant Kuligowski and Sergeant Stockwell, and request for the assessor's training for $100.
Support.
Okay, motion and support. Anybody want to pull anything out or discuss anything?
The police department letter?
Yeah.
Can we go over that briefly?
I was going to actually read this.
Okay.
It's from Christine Anderson, who's an attorney, and she sent us a letter in about, I'll just read it. Good afternoon. It was addressed to Lieutenant Kuligowski. This afternoon, I was at 72nd District Court on a pretrial conference with defendant, and we X that name out. She is very grateful for the kindness and concern shown to her by Sergeant Stockwell on October 22nd, 2016. She indicated that he is very well may have saved her life. She is in counseling and has improved greatly. Please let Sergeant Stockwell know that she is very thankful for him and the Clay Township Police Department. So,
Very good.
Very nice.
yes. And there he is back there.
Good word.
Good word. All right. And I want to point out to the new board members, when we do training for Barb, she also is a assessor for Cotterville too, so we split that cost. We'll pay it and they'll reimburse us for the training for Barb. So.
Is that Barb or Sherry going?
Both.
Okay.
So, all right, no more discussion on the consent agenda? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, brace yourself for the supervisor's report. Not that long. Let's see. As everyone knows, the safety in our school is a big concern, and I was at the high school about a week and a half ago and witnessed that we did a lockdown test and at the high school, and it went very well. And so that kind of spurred on some more conversations that we have had and continue to have. Our police department is setting up actual training for the teachers that are in the school, and in case there is a situation that comes up, just so they can be better prepared. And then we actually had some discussions with the school administration. In the past 4 weeks ago, there was a threat at Anchor Bay, I believe. It was Anchor Bay and in East China, where they actually closed the schools down. They're kind of copycat situations. And actually, the school administration contacted us on this. They would, if at all possible, we get a threat likewise, we don't want to close the school down. And if at all possible, and I'm sure safety will be the #1 concern, we'd like to keep the school open, and we'd probably put a police officer in every school and really watch the kids entering and leaving the building at that time. But, and then also, we talked about it before, but actually I want to get more granular. God forbid if there is a situation, you want to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And in the areas that our police patrol, we have 4 schools. And I'd like to set up I mean, if there is a situation, there's no, I mean, we're all going in and to deal with it, but I'd like to beforehand set up exactly for each school where we're going to set the perimeter barricades at, where we're going to have a command center, where are we going to, stage the press, where are we going to have a place where we give the kids back to their parents to do that exchange, and God forbid even a triage. In the heat of the situation, it's kind of hard to think about that stuff at the time, and we need to have that clear and on paper and thought out beforehand. I even want to bring in the sheriffs on that in the discussion, and even Border Patrol, because they're going to be, involved in everything too. And, exactly who's going to set the barricades up. Will it be our water department or whoever, but I want to get really granular on that. God forbid something does happen. See, our tower truck, the repairs are done and that's back in service online, so that's good. Let's see, what else is going on? I've been having several talks with the Russell Island Homeowners Association on their garbage removal. The person who owned the barge that would haul the garbage back to the mainland to the garbage truck, he's retiring, selling his barge, so we're looking at different options. One, maybe the homeowners association will buy the barge or get somebody else different to do that. Had 4 or 5 different conversations with them with different options. I just want to let the board know that's going on, and it probably will be changing how we're handling their garbage going forward. Had a meeting and some discussions on the Crispin Drain project. There's been a few issues where the drainage, where the spoils are, and hoping to get a resolution of that. Also this May, they're going to start the planning phase where they're going to, again, plant around where the spoils are and alongside the banks. And once that's done, then it will go into the maintenance phase for 3 years. So that's going to start in this May. Okay. Also, the St. John's Habitat Restoration is moving forward. Anybody who lives along those areas, you probably got a letter in the mail. The permits have been filed with the Corps of Engineers, and they set out their public notice about a week ago. And so hopefully we'll get those permits approved and get the ball rolling on that soon. Let's see. I'm looking for somebody to oversee the farmer's market. It doesn't entail a lot of work. Tom was shaking his head yes. Basically, you kind of organize the vendors, and you didn't actually, once it's up and running, you don't even have to be there, but that usually starts in midsummer and goes through the fall. So if anyone's interested in that, give me a call. And Elginak Little League used our township hall this past weekend for registration. How many guys did you get? It was busy.
I think we're at about 270 families.
Was that up?
Yep.
Okay.
A little bit.
So we got 270 families signed up for Little League. Way cool.
Good.
I want to give a shout out to our Elginak wrestling team. I went to one of their matches last week. I think it was Armada. They won every match but one. It was like 66-3 or something. I mean, they are rated, I think, in the top 5 of the state. So major kudos to those guys. They deserve it. Upcoming events, I'm not going to get too granular. We got a lot of things going concurrently. Our leisure activity club for special needs adults, second Thursday in school. February 15th is our last consumer education series put on by the Attorney Generals. And this one deals with investment fraud. That was a series of 6. And we're talking about starting this series again this spring on Harson's Island. February 17th, 18th, and 19th, Winterfest in the park next door. It's featuring, hopefully winter will come back, featuring Saturday kids ice fishing, where we take them down to Elginak Harbor and fish in the harbor that we've done well. The Well, last year we didn't have ice either, but the year before. And what we're doing too, what we did last year, brought in a big tank, and probably got about 50 or so big trout, and had the kids fish for that. We're gonna, even if we do have ice, we're gonna do that also, so kids in wheelchairs and the real little guys can fish also. And I'm told we're gonna have a guy there filleting the fish for the kids so they can take it home, but I'm thinking about firing up a grill and see if we can cook it right there myself. But that's just me. I'll probably bring some charcoal. What else is going on for that? We have the kids fishing. Beer tent. Friday night they're having Meldrum Brothers play, and then Saturday night another great band called Soul Provider. Sunday in the tent, Sunday afternoon is professional wrestling. That's a blast. And every day, providing we have ice, we have figure skating going on the pond. And we have horseshoes going. I think Friday and Saturday morning, they're doing bingo. And Saturday and Sunday, they're bringing a petting zoo in. And all kinds of other stuff going on. All the proceeds from this Winterfest, this is actually put on by the Pearl Beach Lions. And they have a program where they go into the elementary and check all the kids from first grade to fifth grade, check their eyes. And if they need glasses, they purchase the glasses for them. And a few weeks later, 3-4 weeks later, the kids walk out with new glasses. And I was a part of that last year where they're fitting the kids with these glasses and everything. And it was way cool.
It's a good thing.
So it was a great program and a great fundraiser for that program. We still have the youth tennis going on at the schools, ages 5 through 10. That's well attended. February 25th at the police station, we're doing, it's called Survival Rival Competition. It's a game kind of like Jeopardy, and it's open to fifth graders. The Flyers went home with them, where the emergency management team gets the kids in there, and they do, it's a game, and they have competition with about 4 teams on emergency preparedness questions mostly. And the winner here will actually play the winner of different communities. And I think they have a playoff somewhere in Marine City and then up in Port Huron, the final ones. And there's prizes for the winners, I'm told. Okay, be doing a cooking class for teens in the high school starting Monday, March 6th. That'll be going on 6 weeks, 2:45, 4:45. And that's going to be how to teach the kids in high school cooking with fresh meats, vegetables, fruits, eating healthy, planning out a budget for their home, and that sort of thing. And we're going to have a bunch of other future programs being announced very shortly for the spring and summer. So that wasn't too bad, was it? Thank you. Unfinished business, we have none. And under new business, first thing on the agenda is I am recommending to the board to appoint Tom Soulliere to our Board of Review. I've known Tom, heck Tom, how long have we been friends? About as old as dirt, huh? Older. He's been selling real estate for the past 26 years and knows a lot about the property in the area, and he's actually willing to sign up for some training for Board of Reviews that's coming up soon, and that's my recommendation. Want to come up and say hi to everybody? And
Actually, I can talk loud enough, so I'm gonna do it right from back here.
oh no, come on up here, Tom.
I heard this was like on a camera or something.
So it might be on a camera. We got to embarrass you.
All right, my name is Tom Soulliere. I live probably the closest to here. I'm across the street from the park. When we have the concerts in the park, you'll see my whole patio furniture over there because we're quite entertaining. When you can have free entertainment brought to you in party, we invite everyone over. I've been in real estate with Santa Monica now. It was Century 21 for 26 years. Before that, I ran private clubs and restaurants, worked with Artie and his mother at the boat restaurant. Graduated as a Muscat in '81 and graduated from state in '85.
Go green.
Artie and I have been heavily involved with the Chamber of Commerce over the years and other community events where we can help out our community. We have a lot of pride in our community, and knowing that I don't do enough nowadays for the community, I figure I can fill in this spot. Also involved with, when it comes to our park, there's more that we can be doing for our park. And I'm working with the national level of real estate through a Grosse Pointe Board of Realtors for grant money. We're trying to get some exercise equipment in that accommodates the whole community, whether you can walk or roll in a wheelchair. So that's a project that is near and dear to both Artie and my hearts, and so we got that underway as well. But there's a need for the board of review, and I'd like to fill that.
Perfect.
Great.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Tom Soulliere to the Board of Review.
Support?
Okay, we have motion and support. Any more questions for Tom or anything else? Got him on the hot seat. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Congratulations, Tom. Thank you much. Thanks for
Welcome.
stepping up.
Welcome, Tom.
Yes. Okay, next we have the DPW Booster Station Maintenance request. And this was done, we had Dixon Engineering take a look at our, basically our tank, see if it needed any repairs, which it did. And they, the board before this, we decided to split it up, and it was okay with Dixon in 2 different years or 2 different projects. And this is actually for the second project, the cathodic protection. It was originally estimated at $20,000, but you can see in the request, it came in at $14,350. There's basically only one contractor in Michigan that does this for the state. That's why we're, as long as the board's good, we'll waive the bid process. And just a footnote too, the first part of this project, we did put that out for bid, and Dixon is still reviewing those, right? And we haven't gotten that back, or otherwise that would have been on the agenda. But this cathodic protection system, it was designed, it would go on next year's budget, so the work would actually be done after July 1st in next year's fiscal year for us.
It's the opposite, Artie.
Oh,
This would fall in this year's budget, and the paint would be next year's.
oh, really? Come on up, John. I'm stand corrected.
Yeah. So this cathodic portion would be into this fiscal budget. And then the paint portion, which we just bid out, would be under the,
Okay, next year's budget. I'm sorry, how did I get that flipped around?
and you can see that that bid came in $5,600 less than the original engineer's estimate. And then I don't know if you talked about the paint estimate at all for the bid on that.
Yeah, I mentioned it last meeting.
So the way we broke it down between the 2 fiscal years, the entire portion should come well under what we originally anticipated.
And it is a budgeted item that we put in the budget. I think we did put it at 20,000, didn't we, in the budget?
For the cathodic, yes.
Yes, for the cathodics. So, he's looking at approval of spending $14,350 for, does everyone know what cathodic protection system is? This kind of protects the tank from electrolysis.
Yeah, corrosion is.
It's an anode that takes the corrosion instead of the
Right.
water tank.
On boats, they put zinc plates on the side of the boat, same thing.
And on the outboard motors.
Correct.
And on outboard motors. Basically, that's what it is. And we really haven't had too much problems with the tank, but this is
No, but after their inspection last fall, they said it's time to
to do this.
do this, yes.
What's the life expectancy of the tank right now?
That's a good question, Mark. A long time. As long as
Okay.
it's maintained properly. Yeah, I don't know if they ever put an actual,
Oh, when they do the inspection, don't they put a life expectancy on it? No?
I never really seen
I
anyone.
guess I could ask that question, but it's never been brought up.
Well, things I'm familiar with probably the last 150 years, so as you said, long time. Okay.
Another question here on the, it says that this price does not include any taxes. This price does not include this, does not include welding of an anode support. Now, what are the chances of those extra,
I think, Joanne, if you look at
Prices.
that bid,
unless I'm,
if you look at that in parentheses, it says, does not include anode support rings existing. They're
Right.
already there.
There.
okay,
So it's not necessary.
okay,
Same thing applies to the penetration coupling
okay,
and the hardware located at the tank shelf, same thing with that.
okay, thank you.
The tank was designed to put these in.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So this quote, is that replacing that anode ring?
No, there's not one there currently. No.
How old is this tank? 20?
72?
Oh,
40,
Been around.
45.
been around.
45.
45, 42.
But the new coating was put on 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they come in and do a 5-year inspection, and they thought it was time to go ahead and put it in. There was slight corrosion starting, so.
What's the board's pleasure?
Just for your information, I did ask Dixon about the Pro bid. They're actually the only company in the Midwest that does that.
In the Midwest.
Algonac just went through the same process, and they were the only bidder on theirs also. So.
When would they start to work?
When would they start?
Yeah,
Probably the next 60 days.
on approval.
Yeah.
Okay. And the painting?
Painting would probably be in July or August.
You gotta get the right kind of temperature for that and humidity for it to be applied correctly.
We did have, what, 5 bids? Was it 5 come back for the painting?
Yeah.
So you're looking for a motion?
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Ainsworth Booster Tank Maintenance at a price of $14,350.
I support.
Okay, a motion and support. Any more discussion on that?
Hey, John,
I think it,
were you aware, did Algonac have to pay any supplemental items that you were aware of?
No,
Any,
I don't believe so.
okay, so theirs was a straight bid as well?
Yes.
Was theirs in the same range? I mean, I don't know the size of the tank.
Theirs is a little bit different because it's an elevated tank.
Okay.
This is a small 200,000 gallon ground storage, so it's.
Not apples to apples?
No, not at all.
Okay,
But I don't believe so, to answer your question, no.
good. And will they be bonded out for this project?
Oh, yes. Bonded and insured.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
And Dixon checks all that to make sure that all that paperwork's in place for us. So they won't proceed until that's there.
Thank you.
Good questions. Roll call vote, please. Anybody else? Roll call vote, please.
Artie Bryson,
Yes.
Cindy Valentine, yes. Joanne Shirkey?
yes,
Mark Bouchard?
Yes.
Sandy Kufelt?
Yes.
Crystal Regan?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next, we have Fire Department purchase of dry dive suits for a total, 2 of them for a total of $4,778. And Assistant Chief John, you're here, aren't you? Got any questions?
have them come up.
Yep, come on up, John.
Everybody come
I feel like Bob Barker today. Come on down.
Sharing the show tonight.
up. Yeah.
Hey, John, I know we had a discussion about this once before on the dry suits, and you had 2 of them that we're still looking for. Did we ever locate those?
We bought 4, right?
Bought 4? And I thought we were missing 2.
And
or
14.
accounted for.
Yeah, we bought those used.
Yeah.
Through the previous dive team, to get us going and to replace some of the ones that were worse off. But these ones that we've already patched, and the ones that we're looking to replace with, if we blow out a neck seal, they're zippered in, so we can do it and repair it right there in the field. It's a single-person donning instead of two-person, so it's more user-friendly.
What he means by that, the two-person that has a zipper in the back, you need help, and this one's a zipper across it. You can zip yourself up.
And it's not a rubber suit.
Well, getting back to my original question, all dry suits are accounted for that we currently have in stock, right? Okay.
How many members do we have on the dive team at Clay?
7?
Hey, John, when we, if we're to approve this, how would you go about the fitting process? Have you given much thought to that?
These are going to be fitted for the 2 people, and if it's kind of like their stock size, then it'll be a cheaper price, but those are fit for the public safety style with the reflectors and everything that are on the suit.
But are there 2 specific people that you would have in mind at this point, or?
For the 2 that I put in for, would be replacing mine and Lieutenant Gordon's.
Lieutenant Gordon's? Okay. And you,
Next year, we'll replace for Lieutenant Cedar and start working our way where everybody will have the same suits.
Well, these, they probably last, what, if they're taken care of, 8 years,
Well,
10 years,
About 20 years.
20 years? So we bought some in 14 that they were used. We bought them from the St. Clair County dive team, and obviously we didn't, I'm not sure what we paid for them at the time, but, you know, we got 2, 3.
800 a suit?
Yeah, I think it was about 800 per suit. We only got a couple of years out of them, though. So,
Going in and out of the ice, tears them up pretty good. I mean, they're only rubber, so it's not like it's. These suits are Kevlar, so they're a little bit stronger.
a little bit stronger?
yeah,
Different material.
I'm familiar with those. The ones we have, they're Viking,
Correct.
so we could send them back to Sweden, right?
Correct. If you
Take-
go out of zipper, you gotta send overseas and,
And it takes forever.
correct.
But we could send these, the used ones over back to Viking and have them, you know, refurbished if we, you know, so choose, so.
So of the 4 currently used suits, we'd pick the best 2 and potentially send them back
Yeah, we could talk, yeah.
to be
I-
refurbished?
Get a guesstimate, you know, you take a picture of it, send it to them, and
John, are these suits available for you immediately?
No, that would be custom fit or special order.
Any idea how long that process would take?
4 weeks.
Where are they made at? Over in Sweden?
California?
And you're here up in front of us, so obviously it's an important item on your agenda, right?
Yeah.
Because that holds some weight.
I mean, right now, we're in the suits. I mean, the dive went in, the airboat accident we had, and it leaks. So, I mean, with 34-degree water, it's
No good. Okay.
I'm kind of torn on this myself. I would like to, part of me says postpone it, you know, let the new chief kind of prioritize and give us an opinion, but on the other hand, you know, you know, the spring and winter, it's time we use these things, right? So,
I agree with you, but we did have this budgeted in the budget
Yep,
for the dive team
exactly.
specifically.
Yeah, every year I've been putting $5,000 in the dive team budget for equipment. I don't think we touched it last year. I'm almost positive we didn't touch it last year. So it is a budgeted item.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2 dry dive suits through Huron Scuba, totaling $4,778.
Support.
Yeah, motion and support.
Where do you store those dry suits at? In the station?
we hang them up in the trailer,
Okay.
and I roll up in my bag, so it's separate from everybody.
Should they be in climate-controlled areas?
They are trailers in the heated.
Heated areas?
These suits will come in bags and,
Sun is the big problem with these that
yeah.
that
Yeah.
tear it up. I just want to let everyone know, we did get other quotes, you know, the 4,700 was, we have one for 6,100. So we do have other quotes. We all set?
Yep.
Okay.
Motion and support, yeah.
Yeah, we have motion support.
Yep,
Yeah,
we do.
Okay, all in favor of purchase of the 2 dry suits for $47.78, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thanks a lot, John. Good work. Next, we have on our agenda, discussion on, actually, let me back up a little bit. In March, we have to decide, the fire department has to decide if they're gonna maintain a ALS rating, which is, it means advanced life support, or go back to a BLS support, rating. And how it works, and Ken, if I mess up, please jump in. I already messed up once tonight, you know.
We don't want him just.
Well, yeah, and he'll be coming up, but how it works is you have to have 2 ratings. The agency itself gets rated, either advanced or basic or whatever, and then the vehicles also get rated if it's advanced life support or basic life support. Back about a year and a half ago, we attempted to be ALS transport. It's no big secret. It was reported, you know, we probably make about, you know, could bring in about $450,000 a year, and the board thought at the time that, you know, we got the SAFER grant, it would give us a 2-year shot of seeing how it would work out for us to go forward and hopefully, you know, defray some of the costs of the fire department with that. I had numerous talks with Ken Cummings on it. He kind of thought that, you know, that 450,000 was really overinflated. It would have been more like 200,000. We would have maybe recouped, which if that was the case, it probably wouldn't have paid for the ambulance service without the SAFER grant. But regardless, the St. Clair County Medical Control did not approve us for transporting. And so right now we can't recover any of our costs. And so that's really mute if we can, you know, try to make a little bit of revenue on it or not, because, you know, we're not allowed to transport. But that being said, and I put in the email, if there's a problem where we don't have ALS transport vehicle readily available, we'll be able to transport to the ALS vehicle. In other words, if we used to do it on the island all the time, if there's someone down the flats, life-threatening situation, we could pick them up in our vehicle, take them to wherever, and give them to Tri-Hospital at that time, and then they would continue transporting. And Joanne was really familiar with that process you're involved in, and that really did work well, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And it saved a lot of time. So, and also, I mean, in all truthfulness, I mean, back in 2014, I wasn't real happy with the response times we were getting, especially on the island with Tri-Hospital, but to Ken's credit, they really upped it up, and we're getting very good response times now, and I don't have any problems with the service that we're getting from them. So needless to say, the current situation right now, we're having a hard time finding qualified paramedics to staff it. That's one issue that we're having. So it's forcing us to pay more overtime to staff a paramedic 24/7. And plus there's lots of expenses per vehicle of drugs that have a shelf life of, and Trish, what is it, about 8,000, 10,000 a vehicle?
To stop it?
Yes,
If you're just looking at ancillary stuff, that's probably about right.
right, okay. And so, yeah, so we have to make a decision, you know, at some point in times before March, And I invited Ken Cummings to come up and tell us the difference between ALS and BLS, and I'm sure he'll give us a history lesson too. And he also brought Dr. Thesis, who's head of St. Clair County Med Control too, if we have any questions.
Thanks, Artie. Good evening, everyone. He knows I like to talk, that's why he said I'll give you more information probably. It is good to be with you, and let me do my very best to try and outline all of the issues. And Artie, you actually represent that pretty accurately. What you're faced with right now is your licenses are renewed annually here in Michigan. And let me even back up before that is, one of the things to remember with EMS or any kind of medical response, EMS is a regulated industry in the state of Michigan. In other words, there is a statute that must be adhered to by any responder, regardless of who provides the service, whether it's public, private, or what methodology you use. It is a regulated industry. Now, what that means is that it's up to you as a community to decide what you want to provide in terms of level of service to your citizens, what you can afford, and what meets within your budgetary requirements. All the guideline does is it says if you're going to do it, here's how you're going to do it, and you must adhere to this. And that's really the issue, I think, more than anything else, that becomes very cumbersome sometimes for agencies. To compare that, and I don't mean to pick on the fire response side of it, but fire service is not regulated in the state of Michigan. Now, there is what's called National Fire Protection Agency, which is commonly known as an FPA, and they have guidelines that they have developed, and these are best practices for firefighting and things of that nature. But in the firefighting side of things, there aren't state evaluators or inspectors coming out to inspect your equipment. There isn't licensing requirements that you have to go through annually. But on the medical side, there is. And those can sometimes be very, very strict and restrictive, I guess is probably a better way of saying it. As already mentioned, we do provide advanced life support at Tri-Hospital EMS. We've served your community for well over 25 years. We have our station located 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right next door to your fire station as well. And what we have really in this community, and really it's very common throughout all of St. Clair County, is we have a tiered response system. And in many of the communities, the fire departments provide what's called a first response service. Some of those fire departments do that at one level, some of them do it at a different level. There are really, for the most part, there are really 4 levels that the state of Michigan recognizes that you're allowed to decide which one best fits your community. Here in St. Clair County, we really only recognize 3. And the 4th level really is not recognized because there just aren't very many licensed people out there any longer in the state. And so many communities are kind of getting away from that. But the 3 levels that are recognized are medical first response, basic life support, and advanced life support. Those are really the 3 options that you have if you're going to provide a medical first response service to your citizens. What Artie had asked me to kind of try and talk with you a little bit about, without getting too deep into the weeds here, is the differences between ALS and BLS, or basic life support and advanced life support. And really, to summarize it, the real difference, and I don't want to make it sound like advanced life support isn't important and doesn't save lives, because it does. There's no question about it that the technology that's in a paramedic unit definitely makes a difference in the outcome of patients. However, what I would also say, and I do have Dr. Thies here with me, who's a practicing emergency physician. I think he would substantiate from a clinical perspective some of what I'm saying today is, even in an advanced life support unit, the first few minutes of response are really directed towards providing basic life support. When we get to a patient, we don't immediately stick them with a needle and start putting drugs in them. What we do is we assess those people. We look at them. We try to understand what's going on. And if necessary, we start them on oxygen. We try to get that history. We try to find out why we're there and what type of issues are going on with them. And all of those things are really basic procedures. Those are procedures that can be performed through a basic life support unit. Really the 2 things probably 3 things that an advanced life support unit does that a basic life support unit does not do is we carry, in an advanced unit, we carry probably 25 to 30 medications in the drug box. Some of them are what I would call stabilizing medications, not necessarily life-saving medications. Some of them are life-saving medications. So we do have that. The second thing that we do have in the ALS unit that you wouldn't have in a BLS unit is the ability to actually monitor the heart itself, okay, through a cardiac monitor. Cardiac monitors are very expensive. They're roughly anywhere, they can run anywhere from $25 to, quite frankly, $40,000 a piece, depending on what models you buy and so on and so forth. Monitoring the heart isn't going to save anybody's life. I want to make sure you understand that. What monitoring the heart does is allows the paramedic to look at what's going on in the heart and then select perhaps a medication to treat that, whatever that is. But the actual act of monitoring it is really not a life-saving technique necessarily. The piece of the monitor that is most important is called the defibrillator. And if you go back and you look at CPR and cardiac arrest and things of that nature, the one thing that everybody will tell you through the American Heart Association is defibrillation, defibrillation, defibrillation. Well, defibrillators are carried on basic units. You probably have an automatic defibrillator here in the township, perhaps. They can be used by lay people. So the point I'm trying to get to you is that while the decision on what level of service you provide to your citizens is yours, and I don't want to sit here and try to influence that one way or the other, because that's really your decision. What I do want you to understand, though, is that many of the procedures that really are life-saving procedures can, in fact, be done through a basic life support unit itself. As I said, there are a number of drugs that we carry on an advanced life support unit. There are also some drugs that basic life support units are also carrying today. One of them in particular is a drug called Narcan. If you've been reading the newspapers or watching any of the media here lately, you'll realize that we have a pretty serious drug epidemic of heroin overdoses and opioid abuse taking place all over the state, and it's very rampant here in St. Clair County as well. And one of the drugs that basic units have been authorized to carry as of about a year or two ago is a drug called Narcan. And that drug is administered actually nasally through a squirt technique where it's squirted up into the nose, and it does help to combat or counteract a drug overdose and bring that person out of the drug overdose. That is carried on a basic unit. The other drug that has been carried on basic units for some time is called EpiPen. Many of you are familiar with that. If you have any relatives or friends that have a severe allergy to bee stings and different things, they may already have an EpiPen with them. Basic life support units here in Michigan are also allowed to carry those EpiPens as well, so they have that readily available right there within the drug box, and it's available. That's really the differences between ALS and BLS, and what you might be giving up if you were to go back to a BLS level of service. The one thing that I do want to touch on that I think that I already mentioned, that I will tell you, you're going to continue to face a huge challenge staffing. I will tell you that without knowing hardly any details about what you've experienced here over the last couple of years that you've been providing that, I have been staffing for 30 years. I can tell you right now that in today's environment, Michigan and really all of the United States has a very, very serious personnel crunch in terms of being able to find licensed paramedics to fill shifts. All over the state of Michigan, there is a significant shortage in paramedics and the availability of paramedics out there. A couple of numbers that I want to share with you that just to help reiterate or support what I'm saying is today, all across the entire state of Michigan, there are only 27 paramedic training institutions that are functioning in the entire state of Michigan. That's for 83 counties. And I don't know how many ambulance services that are providing advanced life support out there, but there are only 27 training facilities currently right now. In contrast to that, there are currently 75 basic EMT training facilities. So 27 versus 75. There are a lot more training facilities out there, and the availability of basic EMTs is much easier to find than it is for paramedics. Here in St. Clair County, we have one training facility that's training paramedics, and that is the community college up in Fort Huron. Right now, they have a paramedic class going on that has 4 students in it, and that's it. And that's not very many to choose from if you're looking for personnel. There's just not There's just not the level of interest in getting into this field that there was 10, 12, 15 years ago. And this is continuing to be a huge challenge for all of us. I just met with college officials on Friday to talk about what we could do to try to improve or increase interest and recruitment into their program for next year, because it's becoming such a huge crisis out there right now for all of us. So again, it's one of those issues you're going to face. Going back to the regulatory piece, and I promise I will shut up and you can ask questions.
Sorry.
But one of the challenges that you have, as I said, EMS is regulated in the state of Michigan. So if you say you're going to provide advanced life support, you have to, by law, provide that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the first emergency that comes in. You can't run short because nobody showed up or somebody called in sick, or you didn't have anybody. If you do, in Michigan, you put your entire license in jeopardy because you've not met the licensing requirements for that. And so that's certainly a concern that you need to look at, and a risk that you have to evaluate in looking at this decision. The last thing that I will say that I think is also a challenge for a small community trying to maintain ALS systems, and that is keeping the skills sharp of your people. What I think you have to look at, and I don't know your numbers specifically, but I think what you have to look at is how often in the last 2.5 years did your paramedics actually perform ALS or advanced life support skills on your citizens. And I don't know that number. You would have to look, you would know that number, but EMS is not unlike any other industry. If you don't use the skill, you lose the skill, because you have to do it on a regular basis in order to remain proficient in that skill. And so that's a pretty significant factor to consider as you're trying to weigh whether or not to stay at that level or perhaps go back to the basic level in providing service. So with that, I will shut up for a few minutes and let you ask any questions you
So basically what he's saying too, even with advanced life rolls up to a victim, first 5-6 minutes, they're performing basic things anyhow. Just Saturday, I had to call the ER for my mom and witness it firsthand. She's okay. But they had to, assess the patient and everything else. And it was all basic in the beginning, and then Tri showed up, so.
What we find from our organization's perspective, not just here in Clay Township, well, I did provide you a little bit of data on some of the, what we call priority ones that we've run on over the last 2 years.
Right.
Here in Clay Township. And, we had, I think there's roughly 68 priority ones on the mainland side that we responded to. I think 21 on the island side over the last 2 years. And, when you look at those patients in there, I've listed some of the medications below the numbers there just a little bit. But many of the, I guess what I would call life-saving or ALS procedures that we provided on those patients, many of them are procedures that your basic service could also still provide or would provide at the basic level. Some of them are not, quite frankly. Some of them are strictly for an advanced life support agency only to provide. But there are many procedures, as I said, that could be provided at that level.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to comment to you that you did a fine job of explaining the way this works. And particularly with this spontaneous use of the vehicles is something that I think was very important, particularly for the island or even here on the mainland, if you're out of the area or whatever, because time is of the essence for strokes, heart victims, and if we can move them and get them going and transfer. And I was in a situation on the island before, and then all of a sudden we couldn't do it anymore. But so I'm very, very pleased, and I'm sure the people on the island and the rest of the township will be pleased that we can do that.
And that is actually right out of the
Yes.
statute.
Yes, I see that, yeah.
It's an excellent out of the statute, and what it was designed for, and I think clearly Parsons Island fits this definition, and that is in those situations when, you are cut off from emergency services and you can't get emergency services in a timely fashion. The law does allow for exemption or exceptions then to allow for, getting these people transported, treated in any way.
It's a real step forward for us in this community, yes.
One thing too, Ken, and you can back me up on this, I just learned this about, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago. If we have, and I was viewing this, okay, we can use ALS transport to help staff our fire department better. We have a ALS unit with a paramedic and an EMT. They are not firefighters. They cannot, if there's a fire, they cannot engage in the fire. And
They're just there to.
am I right?
Yep.
You're absolutely correct. Under Michigan law,
Yep.
Yep.
the fact that you happen to run an ambulance through a fire department does not exempt that ambulance from being available to respond to other calls during a fire. So it's no different than if I were to take my ambulance crew and decide I'm going to deliver pizzas during the day. I can't take my ambulance out of service to perform a different function, no more than a township or a community can take their ambulance out of service in order to fight fire or perform a different function. That was a decision that was actually made by the department probably about 15 years ago. So you have to look at these as two completely separate operations within your organization. And it does create a little more challenge for you in terms of staff.
So that's a situation that, we have to be aware of too. And one thing too, we had a situation, I know it blew up on social media. There was a call on Flamingo and required an ambulance. And at the time, we only had one paramedic on our staff. And when we do that, we've been putting them on the island because Tri's on this side. Tri was busy right when the first call went out. So by state law, we had to respond to this call, and our paramedic was on the island. Everyone was, why are you pulling them off the island? And this is why, because our state guidelines, SOGs, we had to respond, and so they, came across the ferry. But by the time they got across the ferry, did respond and was there. But that was the situation why. And everyone's saying, why are you leaving the island all unattended now? It's state law.
You have no choice.
If we were BLS, that would not happen.
Yeah.
We had no choice in the matter, so they turned around and just went right back. But everyone, they couldn't understand why that was the situation. So, but in essence, we're just reproducing the need that Tri is satisfying for our community. Plus, they're doing it to no cost to us. So, and we did have a little discussion too. If the ferry's closed, we have ice problem. We'll put a.
What we have done in the past, before you guys licensed at the ALS level as you are right now, what we had typically done in the past is we actually, when we knew there was an ice jam coming, we would actually take one of our spare trucks over to Harson's Island so that it was on the island with the drugs and the various equipment that was there. And then we always kind of worked out an arrangement between the fire department, to staff that for us. But it was really operating under our license. That way, whether that was legal or not, I'm not sure. But the bottom line is we got the care and the equipment over there. I don't know that we ever used it in the years that we did it, but it was there in the event that we had an emergency for those times when we do run into that particular challenge that is presented with the island.
That's something that would still be available?
Absolutely.
Yep, I made sure of that.
And in fact, I had shared with Artie that if for some reason the fire department does not have qualified licensed people to staff that we would certainly work with the township during those times. Again, that doesn't happen every day. It's not a real common occurrence, I think, but it does happen, and we have to prepare for that logistic when it does happen. And so we would certainly work with you guys on that. Absolutely.
I certainly hope that a lot of our people in our community watch this particular meeting on Comcast or their computer or whatever, so that they can hear this valuable information that has just been expressed to us.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Cummings, there's a certain level of comfort knowing that Clay Township and both Tri-County are both ALS certified. I'm certain that when there's an event or need and Tri-County responds, logistically speaking, to get that patient to the hospital and then return back to Clay Township is a considerable amount of time. And knowing that Clay Township is also ALS certified, if we give that up and we become BLS certified, and there is a run up to Port Huron or the designated hospital, how are we going to address the absence of our #1 ALS vehicle?
We have an ambulance that's physically located here in the township 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Yep.
as long as there's no calls.
Yep.
But whenever that ambulance goes out on a call, we immediately backfill this area from other stations. So we actually have 3 units down in the downwind area, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have one here, one in Ira Township, and then one up in East China Township. And when one goes out, the other ones all shift to central staging points so that all of the areas can continue to be covered. We do that with our entire operation at all times. We operate 10 ambulances today, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in our entire operation. So it's not inconceivable for an ambulance that started the day in K-Pac to end up in Clay Township by afternoon. That's what we do in order to make sure that all areas are covered. Now, the reason I say that is if it gets really busy down here, and I think we had a day here about a month ago in which we had like 3 calls, almost back to back, and then I think Algonac had one as well. We covered every one of those calls, again, by backfilling our state, this area from other ambulances. We pull those resources into the areas where we vacate those areas to ensure that you always have coverage down here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, we can't possibly staff for every single event that might happen. If we have a disaster, then what we do is we have mutual aid agreements with surrounding agencies, Richmond Lennox and MedStar to our south, City of Marysville to our north. Realize that's quite a ways, but we do have valid, active mutual aid agreements with those agencies. And so if we can't backfill the area, we bring one of their ambulances here to backfill the area. We do that with Richmond Lennox all the time, quite frankly. If we have a very, very busy day, we will bring them. You'll see, if you drive up to Shea and Starville,
Yep.
you will almost always see an ambulance sitting there. That's one of our covering points.
That's
Again,
a backfill point?
by covering there, we can cover Clay Township, we can cover Algonac, and we can cover Ira both. Rather than let the ambulance sit in Ira, we move it so that it covers both areas and does it within a reasonable amount of time. That's how we operate our system. So hopefully there won't be a situation where you won't have an ambulance available, but in the event that we do, that's why we rely on our mutual aid partners to assist us with that. They're very good about it.
And if there isn't anything readily available, we can always transport.
You can, absolutely, and that's well within the law.
Thank you for the explanation.
Any other questions for Ken, or? So,
Thank you for
okay,
coming down.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just also want to mention, myself and a few of the other board members talked to a lot of the officers of our fire department, and pretty much, I believe unanimously, I didn't talk to anyone that hasn't, thinks we should go back to BLS for, different reasons.
Can we call on the interim fire chief? Just weigh
Sure.
in his 2 cents? Chief Doan?
How you doing, Jerry? Good. Good. Tell them about how we're having problems staffing there currently.
Right now, we currently have 2 of the safer people that are the full-time paramedics. We have 2 paramedics that are on shift that we do on a regular rotation. Aaron's one of them, he's sitting back here. He has been getting a boatload of overtime because he's one of the ones that is available when we don't have a position to be filled. So we try to have, sometimes we have 2 paramedics on just the way it falls because of availability, but how the rotation works, they work 24 on, or 48, they work two 24 shifts in a row, and then they have 4 days off. Those are the full-time people. So by having only the 2 paramedics that are full-time, There's always constantly that third rotation that's in there. Used to have a paramedic on it, it's not a paramedic anymore, it's basic. So they're EMTs instead of paramedics. And we have a list of part-time paramedics that I usually fill the positions with, try to fill the positions with. That's why we have so much overtime, because we don't have enough people to fill those positions.
Okay.
It's been very difficult in the 6 weeks that I've been here. Every week, there's overtime, consistently. I don't have an answer for that, as far as the paramedic problem. They're just not there. We have put applications out to have medics come in, but there's a criteria that they have to meet for the amount of hours that they have to be in the county in service before they can go on their own actively, which is, I think it's 216 hours. I believe.
216 hours they have to do service before they actually, in St. Clair County, before they become a paramedic for us.
Okay.
So, that being said, if I hired a gentleman today that didn't work in St. Clair County, they have to work 216 hours in county alongside of another paramedic that we can't fill already anyways. We're getting those, but most of the paramedics that we're getting are out and about. They're not local. Of our paramedics that we have, as I said, one of our full-time paramedics lives in Madison Heights. He comes here as his job and goes home, so he's not available. Sometimes he does. He's picked up overtime shifts. I can't say he's not available, but it's difficult on a last-minute notice to do that. Aaron lives locally, so he is getting, and it's been taking that. So I've been leaning on him a lot. But most of our medics live outside of the area, unfortunately. And that's the position that we're in.
So,
My opinion of it, if, as Ken was saying, as far as being, due to the circumstances of us not being able to recoup our money with having a full-time staff, it's costing us money to do that, especially in manpower and some of the equipment, as Trish stated, to have that specific equipment for the ALS unit. Now, however, some of that equipment is still going to be on the basic unit, so you can't just say, you know, things that are out of date just because they're not specific to the ALS unit. Some of that stuff is also for the basic unit, but like ET tubes, those have a date, those are gone as soon as they expire. That's an example.
okay.
So that's, due to the circumstances, I wouldn't be opposed to going to BLS, only because of that criteria, you know, what the situation is. If we were able to transport and recoup some of the money, then absolutely, it would be beneficial, but due to the circumstances of not having that transporting license, this is where we're at.
How many drug boxes did we crack in the year and a half? Do you know? Red, do you know? Or Gord? What did we crack, only 2 or 3?
Are we talking Darren Jobby or
Well,
what?
yeah.
Well, as Ken, I think, kind of stated, there's 21 in 2 years, or almost 2.5 years, that there's been 21, priority 1 calls on Herson's Island, as an example.
Yep.
To me, that's not very many. But I can't answer the specifics on how
Right.
many drug boxes we open.
Thank you for sharing your opinion. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jerry.
So like I say, sooner or later, we're going to have to come to a decision on this.
If we go back to BLS, what is the process to achieve ALS again, should we decide to move forward and go back to ALS?
We'd have to apply, I'm assuming we'd have to apply with the Medical Control Board again, just like we would have to apply in March, right? To continue, we'd have to, we'd have to show them that we have the proper staffing, proper vehicles, and everything's outfitted. You know, it's a yearly thing to renew it.
So that would be the time frame. Should we decide to go back ALS, we'd have to wait a year.
We could upgrade at any time.
No, we can upgrade any time. Yeah.
Yeah, under the statute, the annual license expires in March, but you can at any time make a change in your license level. So if at some other time you decided that you had the resources that you needed to properly do it, you could do it in July. I mean, it's just really just a matter of paperwork and resubmitting paperwork. However, as I already did say, you would have to go through all those inspections all over again. That process you would, you have to submit the proper documentation showing the scheduling and who the personnel are and all the equipment. You'd have to go through another inspection and all that stuff, but you can do it anytime you want. It doesn't have to be done annually.
Thank you.
I would say we may want to postpone until after the.
It's the board's pleasure.
Just a discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put it as a discussion
Discussion.
that, does the board need any more information to, or does the board feel confident on the information we have so far, or?
I don't know, I've been over it several times already, and I know what I would like to see, so it's going back to BLS. But
Okay. I mean, like I say, we have March, we can decide now, we can postpone it to the next meeting, but,
I would think it would be appropriate to wait till we get a new chief.
yeah, right, right,
And let
okay.
him see what's,
That's why I just put
And get his
discussion, so.
opinion. Yep.
So we're, no action, everyone good with that right now?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, well, this is a tough one, right? And
Yeah.
this is not an easy decision,
no,
no,
and it shouldn't be.
no,
no.
This is about safety and our public safety. And to me, superficially, it seems like an incredible duplication of resources, a
Yep.
lot of money. But I'd be interested in gathering just a little more information and also hearing from the Clay Township residents
okay.
over the course of the next
I
2 weeks.
actually tentatively have a meeting with Harson's Island Homers Association Saturday
Oh, good.
at 9:30, so if anyone wants to attend, it's at 9:30, right?
Yes,
So, to discuss this issue,
at the Lions Hall.
so. Everyone good for moving on?
move on.
All right, fifth, under new business, is appoint a new fire chief. We had we formed a hiring committee. It was Chris O'Regan and Mark Burchard, myself, and they basically told me too that, you know, we wanted someone local to do this job. And so I put it out to all the resources I could think of to attract local people. We get five resumes.
5
Yeah.
highly qualified
Right.
resumes.
And you guys, you want to just go into the process that we did, or you want me to talk, or I'm,
Well, I don't mind, I'll take the first shot.
okay. Of the process, how we did with it.
So once the hiring committee was formed, we talked about our list of criteria, what we'd be looking for in a new fire chief. From that process, we began to receive resumes, as well as letters of intent and references. And then we scheduled between the three of us separate lengthy interviews. And I would say the interview process went very well. We had 5 highly qualified candidates, which always makes it nice. The interviews were tough. There were some very tough questions, and we've got a lot of positive response. So I'm happy with the candidates that we had. During the process, we took time to follow up on the list of references, and I thought we did our due diligence. Mark, you're very involved in your fire department knowledge, and I thought we did a pretty good job of interviewing the 5 candidates.
Yeah, right, actually, all the candidates that we did interview, all of them had very good experience. Any one of them would be a chief somewhere down the line somewhere. And I think we chose a chief that has some, basically a lot of maturity, a lot of education and experience in the fire fighting industry that I think is going to be a asset for Clay Township.
So it is, well, with the committee's recommendation,
I want to go over his experience first.
great.
I just want to, before I, or, you know, let out, the person that the committee's recommended spent 27 years with the fire department at Selfridge Air Base. And he was the officer, the chief of operations officer, and he's specializing in planning, budgeting, purchasing, supervision, and operations of the fire department. He overseed 50 employees, 8 dispatchers, and this person also spent 18 years as a firefighter in Clay Township. He lives in the township, has skin in the game. That's important to me. So not only is he going to be protecting our families, he's going to be protecting his own families. He was a member of Clay Township Dispatch, so he's familiar with our dispatch. He's familiar with a lot of the equipment that we have. And his skills is great with community relations, budgeting, short-term and long-term goals, crisis, emergency communication, workforce planning, finance and payroll, and finance monitoring and forecasts. He's got a whole slew of certificates. I'll go through a few of them. Let's see. Firefighter 1, 2, fire officer 1, 2, 3, 4, fire inspector 1, 2, 3. Hazardous material awareness operations and incident commander. And he has even deals with weapons of mass destruction, public telecommunications 1 and 2, driver operator ARF, mobile water supply operator pumper, fire investigator. He's Michigan Department of Safety officer for health and incident safety officer, rapid intervention team, ice rescue trainer, NIMS 1 through 800, which we have to deal with soon. Incident command system 300, 400, and there's a bunch of others. All that being said, I'd like to actually make the motion that to the board, and this was on the recommendation of the committee, that we hire George Rose as our new fire chief effective immediately. And part of that motion was that Jerry Doan will stay in the fire department working alongside with him until George Rose is comfortable with the knowledge transfer. And at that point in time, then Jerry would go back to the water department to his former position. So that's my motion.
Support.
We have motion and support. Any more discussion? Come on up, George. Say hi to everybody. Sorry, we're embarrassing everybody today.
First of all, I'd like to thank the board. I'm also looking forward to working with the firefighters, you, the board, and also the residents of the township. And thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for George, or?
No, you haven't got the job yet.
Yays.
But, yeah, we put him through a good interview, and so I'm confident in my decision, so.
Welcome aboard.
Well, we got to vote.
We didn't vote.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you
All in
vote.
favor of my motion of hiring George Rose as chief, and then interim chief Jerry Doan will eventually go back to the fire department. What? Water department, thank you. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you much.
Now, welcome.
George, well, I congratulate you. Thank you much.
Thank you very much.
10 o'clock tomorrow, we got a department head meeting at my office.
Congratulations, George.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you much, George. All right, moving right along. Police Department dispatch system payoff. We had we put in a new dispatch system. It was needed very badly. It ended up costing a little more than we originally thought it was, because we got in the middle of the project. We needed a new antenna next to it, or next to the building, which we did. And I gave you the write-up of the original decision. It was a Motorola system. They're the only ones that do that. So at the time, the board thought, well, we didn't, to put the system in, we didn't have to make any payments for a year. And which I would have been nervous for. We did the down payment at the initial order, but I was reluctant to pay them a large sum of money until it was up and running. This was a very complicated system that we put in. I think it took a total of 8 months from yes, we want it to a final implementation. We probably had 5 or 6 meetings with the whole project team here, and it was a complicated process, but it went well. And so now we got to pay for it. And at the time, the finance options was we could finance it for 7 years, basically paying $40,863 a year, or I made sure that we could do early payoff if we wanted to, with no penalty. And as you can see, we do have the money in our fund balance. I budgeted $40,000 in this. To pay it off is not a budgeted item. I budgeted $40,000 to make the 7-year payment. But if the board so chooses, we could pay it off, and we would save $28,000 in interest by paying it off early. And we do have in our fund balance, we have a 911 fund that's restricted. It can only be spent on dispatch, infrastructure, or labor. And our auditors did say, you know what, Artie, spend that down and build your regular, and let your regular fund balance build. So that's what we have been doing. There is $220,000 left in that fund balance of the police department, and which would cover what we need to do to pay this off early. So basically, you know, with the board's pleasure, if we did pay it off early, it would allow $40,000 more going forward in operation, yearly operations for the police department. So, does anybody have any questions or?
Where does the other 40 come from?
Well, 40
Fund balance is 220 and the payoff amount is 260.
The payoff is 260,
What am I missing?
but we'd have to amend the budget 220 because I already have 40,000 in the budget.
You got it covered. You got
Right.
the 40 covered.
Right, so we have to amend the budget for the 220. Follow me?
Yep, I do now.
Okay. Because we already have the 40 budgeted for it. And we make next to nothing in interest on our fund balance. We do get about 1% on things that we put in a CD that we don't use for operations. We do have our other account where we do take money in for operations. We make 0.0025, a quarter of 1%. And not a whole lot. So if we can save, paying interest, I'm usually all about it myself. So does anyone have any questions or comments?
So that would be $4,000 a year for 7 years of interest that we'd be saving.
Mm-hmm.
And with depleting the fund balance of that $220,000, is that going to put us in jeopardy of any other projects that are going out there or emergencies?
No, actually, we have, in the past couple of years, we've really improved the infrastructure of the police, put in a new phone system. A new computer system, servers, and this being the big one. Going forward, we really, and addition on the building.
Yep, the building.
We really don't have any big capital expenses coming up. I know next year we're gonna have to buy new vests, bulletproof vests. I think we have about, between the full-time and part-time guys and reserves, about 25 of them. We do stand a really good chance of getting half that paid for by a grant. And I don't have a price on that yet. Other than that, I don't see any really big expenses coming up in the next 5-7 years. How this 911 monies, we get paid 911 funds every year. That goes in, that's from everyone's cell phone and phone bills.
Yep.
And it's been built up over the years, and it's just, no one's ever used it. And the auditor says, time you start using it and spend it, and it's designed for this, for spending money on our dispatch, so.
Would that have any impact on any warranties that are implied on the equipment that we have?
No.
For that?
No.
Do you know how long it's taken the 911 fund account to reach 220 million?
Well, we get about 60,000 a year.
Okay.
And that's based on, and that's what we receive. A portion of that goes to the county to pay for the 800 megahertz system that we use.
Is there a time limit when we have to spend that money that's in the 911? Or
No.
is it in there forever?
It's been there forever.
Okay.
But it is a restricted fund.
What other things could the fund actually be used for?
Labor.
Labor?
We have been pulling some.
Dispatch labor?
Yes, dispatch labor training. We have line items for that anyhow. In the past, we haven't been touching this fund balance for that. But it has to be spent directly for direct dispatch costs only.
I think it would be in our best interest to spend it and then start building it back up again.
It's
Yeah,
like
and to the
28
tune-
grand.
To the tune of $28,000. I'll make the motion.
It saves
to-
$28,000.
I'll make the motion to approve paying off the dispatch council for the amount of $260,000. I'll start over. I'm not feeling good tonight, I'm sorry. $260,028.49 by February 22nd.
Support?
Okay, a motion and support. And like I say, that will save about $28,000 in interest, and anyone knows about me, I've been really aggressive on retiring our debt in the township over the past 4 years. We were paying 5%, 7% on these bonds. We got them refinanced at 1.67%, something like that. And we retired a lot of debt in the water department the past few years. And that's the way I look at it. Saves us 28 grand, so.
So how much is going to be left in the 911 fund?
Very little in that, but we'll have over $800,000 in our police fund balance.
Do you know when it renews? Is it annual or is it a trickle effect? Does it come in every week?
Is
every
it
month,
quarterly?
Quarter?
It's
I think
either
it comes in
semi-annually.
Semi-annual?
Yeah.
So 30K
Yeah.
twice a year?
That or it's quarterly, I can't remember. I think it's semi. Tom would know better.
Well, we can't very well ask him today.
Oh.
Tom?
Yeah, he collects the money. But I do think it's semi-annual.
Okay.
So we have motion support? Roll call vote, please.
Cindy Valentine, yes. Joanne Shirkey.
Yes.
Mark Bouchard.
Yes.
Sandy Kufelt.
Yes.
Chris O'Regan.
Yes.
Artie Bryson.
Yes, motion passes. Next on the discussion, Treasury Department, extended absence for Tom Kruger, and I wish he was here tonight, but we have a problem that, he hasn't been coming into the office. In fact, his board packet's still on his chair in the office. He didn't pick it up this week. And I'm concerned because our deputy treasurer has actually been doing, his job. And the problem is the deputy treasurer can do everything that the treasurer can do except for attend the meetings and vote. And the problem is that some point in time, our deputy treasurer is going to need some time off and take some personal time. And when that happens, we don't have anybody that can legally, sign a check and
Transfer money for payroll.
Transfer money for payroll. And these are things that we need for the township to keep running. I actually called the MTA and asked them if we could appoint 2 deputy treasurers, and they said no. Legally, you can only have 1. So if our deputy treasurer has to leave or get sick or something, we're going to be in a world of hurt. I guess if we had to, could take documents over to his house and hopefully get them signed. But it's been an issue. And
Have we called Tom at all and asked him what his recommendation would be?
Well, I called him towards the end of last week and asked him what the situation is. And he goes, well, I mean, he does have a health issue. I grant him that. But he was going to hopefully be back in a couple weeks. He told us, well, in November, he said he was going to be back after the holidays, and that hasn't happened. Quite honestly, since, a little bit over a year,
December 15.
from December 15 of last year, I've, maybe 2 months, 6 weeks he's been guessing? He's been in the office about 6 weeks. Whole time collecting a paycheck, but that's the way it works. And I kind of, the last meeting we were talking, and he referred back to when we had problems with the clerk, and the clerk wasn't here, and him and I had to ante up and do the clerk's work, including our own jobs. Well, that's what we've been doing. And the deputy treasurer for the past, year versus, he was in for about, I'm guessing 6 weeks, 2 months tops, total time, so.
So has he offered any solution? I mean, he's got to know the burden that puts on.
Well, I asked him, I said, Tom, what's going to happen if she has to take time off? And he didn't have an answer.
Well, in fairness to his deputy, she has taken very minimal time since October. When she does, she tries to schedule it so that it works, with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday that she's already off. She'll take, split half days. But rightfully so, if she wants to take her vacation, we're gonna have a problem. And she's definitely entitled to take a vacation. And like I said, hasn't taken much time off since October because Tom hasn't been here since then, so. In case anybody's check's late, that's why.
So tax collection is next week?
Yes.
Do we have office
15th.
coverage with the deputy? Is that going to be a struggle, or?
It's always very busy in here, but, we do what we can.
I mean, basically, the treasurer department kind of runs the front, the desk. People come in and pay their money. And either water bills, taxes, and, and it's tough when the deputy treasurer wants to go for lunch. We do cover, and we do have some cross-training and some other people bonded to collect money, but it's a struggle. Barb will contest to that. Yeah, I mean, our assessing department is playing treasurer, and so it puts a burden on everybody else, and it's not good for the morale. And before, we always rotated lunches, so we had coverage. And, it's hard when you're running the front counter when you only have one person and there's two people waiting to pay, and you get a phone call that takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, But we've been staffing it as best as we can, and we've been doing okay. We've been doing good, but it's getting to be more and more of a problem, so.
So when you contacted the MTA, did they offer any solutions or suggestions?
Well, yeah, not really. Well, they said, well, you could ask for his resignation. If we need someone to sign, we could take it over to his house to physically take it over to get it signed. He's been to the last three meetings or so, but he hasn't made it to his office yet. It's more of a walk here than it is to his office. But
Is there a possibility to hire any temporary staffing?
well, there's only can be one. Well, we do have two people working the desk, but we hired a part-time girl. Then we have an intern that comes in and splits the second shift up, and that's been working pretty good. But like you say, you got someone. If someone's on vacation, someone's out to lunch. You're down to one person now running that counter, and it's tough. And like I say, we've been backfilling if Cindy from the billing department will jump over, or because everyone in the office is pretty well cross-trained, which is great, or the assessing.
It's not just about taking the money, though.
Right.
I mean, there's the tax disbursements that have to be done. Even if something, or God forbid, to happen to our deputy, we have nobody there to send our money to the county. I can't do both because I'm in the clerk's office. I pay out the money, so I can't take in any of the money. But I also don't have authority over the tax account because that is strictly the treasurer.
See, I mean, we worked really hard to clean, to get our audit and set up running smoothly, and a lot of that was segregation of duties.
Yep.
And
We don't want to go backwards.
this is putting a challenge to that.
I mean, there's a lot of paperwork I'm still able to do. I just can't do anything that has specifically to do with any.
Yeah,
cash.
and, we have the deputy treasurer doing the tax disbursements to, the county, the schools, the ISD, and, it's pretty complicated. We don't have any secondary reviews. I would think the treasurer should be reviewing that also, and that hasn't happened. We had to outsource bank recs, as the board knows, because, that's part of the thing, every month I want the bank recs done for the previous month, and we had to outsource that to get that done. So really, there's really not a whole lot we can do right now. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I was hoping to ask Tom when he thought, he might be back to business as usual. And I understand it's hard with health issues, but we got to keep our township running too.
Well, we discussed once before about him working from home, and he said he'd have to have the appropriate hardware over there, such as a computer and.
Yeah, I have no problems bringing a computer over there to him. You know, I can pack up this computer and set it up as long as he has internet over
Well,
there.
if he has a computer over there, he can probably attach to the internet here. And I don't know about probably the programs too, but that's something.
We can set up a VPN, it's called, where he
Yeah.
can go in and get into our server. We basically did that with our auditors.
I believe he stated at that meeting, though, his struggle would be the files.
Right.
and accessing office equipment.
So,
Artie, I talked to a highly qualified IT person from our community that has volunteered his services to set him up
no, I can do it
over
myself.
there. So,
Yeah,
Mr. Kruger, we need you back, sir. We
Yeah.
need you back in your seat, doing your job. Otherwise, please furnish Artie with a legitimate doctor's note on why you can't do your job. This is a legitimate plea. We need your brain, your resources, and the township needs you now. Thank you.
okay, anything else on that? Thank you much. That's everything under new business. Board member comments. Mark, we'll start with you.
I'm good this evening. Still suffering from my cold that everybody else has, so.
Okay, Joanne?
There is no ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, meeting this month, and I've said what I wanted to say as far as listening to the BSL versus the ASL, so I'm
Okay.
good.
Cindy?
Well,
Your
I
team
like-
won last night.
yes, they did, the Patriots, yeah.
Wow, that
Big
was a
night last
game.
night, that was a great game.
Oof.
I'd like to thank Jerry Doan for jumping into a whole new role at the last minute for us and carrying us the last few weeks over at the fire department. I also like to thank all the guys in the fire department for working with him as well as you did. I understand that that's not an easy situation for anybody over there, but I think you guys all did an awesome job. And I'd like to welcome George, and hopefully they have everything set up pretty good over there for you.
Got anything, Sandy?
My turn?
Yes.
I also have a cold, but I did want to thank Chris and Mark for your job on the hiring committee for the fire department. I think you guys did a great job, and thank you for the efficient and effective decision-making in that process. And it's appreciated by not only myself, but I'm sure the community for the due diligence that you did in that process. So thank you. That's it.
I'm grateful to have done that. And part of this committee is getting to know the candidates. And when we sit up here and discuss problems internally within our community and with our fire department, sometimes you can get and portray a negative image. But if you could talk to the boots on the ground and talk to the fire department members and talk to the 5 candidates who came in and applied for that job, it gives me a great feeling of hope. And I'm really looking forward to working with our new chief. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah, I'd just like to expound on Chris and Cindy's, comments. It was a good committee, and the process, it was a good process. I learned a lot from it, and it was a good process, and I'd like to thank Jerry. He did an awesome job, and we became good friends through it, I think. And I'm looking forward to working with George a lot. And I'm very positive. I'd like to thank Ken and Dr. Thesis and Trish for coming.
Thank you.
And Tom for being on a board of review. So, yeah, I mean, I think everything's positive. And you know what? Our fire department did really, step up and work well with Jerry in the process, and yeah, I'm very hopeful too, so. Other than that,
Moving forward.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
okay, all in favor? Aye. Thanks for coming, everybody, and have a good couple weeks.
Thank you, Jerry Doan.
Barb, you want these?